Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to head back to my second homeland of Sweden once again, for the first time in what feels like a good little while. Now, we're going to have a look at a collaboration beer today, and both of the breweries involved in this one have featured on the channel many times before. If people were to ask me about the home brewery, I would say that they're best known for their different kinds of lager beers, but they do a number of other styles as well, whereas the away brewery are one of the largest by volume craft breweries in Sweden. They've been around a long time and their beer has always been pretty damn solid in my experience. One of their beers that sticks in mind was the Russian Imperial Stout. That was great. But the beer we're going to have a look at today is a sub-style that I haven't tried from either brewery, if memory serves me correctly. It's a sub-style though that is very close to my heart because it goes all the way back to when my journey with craft beer was just beginning, so I think this one should be really quite interesting to try. Needless to say, I'm very curious to see what it has in store for us. Hopefully it's another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always, I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this one then, for the home side of things, we are going to return to my home county of Skåne in the very south of the country. We're going to go to Malmö in the very southwestern corner almost, and we're going to have a look then at another beer from the wonderful Hyllie Bryggeri. So this particular beer is called Methode Bamberg. It comes in at 5% ABV. They're describing this one as a smoked lager beer, a Helles lager, smoked Helles lager to be precise. And this one is brewed in collaboration with Poppels Bryggeri, who are from Jonsered, just out to the east of Gothenburg, Gothenburg, the Swedish craft beer capital up there on the west coast, as we always used to say on the channel. But yeah, this should be very, very nice. I came across this beer quite randomly here in Hong Kong. One of the craft beer bars that I go to up the street actually had it, so I asked them if I could buy a can to take away, and yeah, they gave me one. So yeah, big thank you to the guys at Bound Bar for making this particular review possible, because I didn't see this one in any of the shops. But yeah, 5% smoked Helles lager beer, this one from Hyllie Bryggeri in central Malmö, and Poppels Bryggeri from Jonsered near Gothenburg. So yeah, let's crack on with this one then and see how we get on. So, as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about both the breweries involved here before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery websites, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Hyllie Bryggeri, and another link to all the reviews that I've done from Poppels Bryggeri. We'll see about adding more to those lists at some point in the near future, but yeah, there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated. And remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the Swedish playlist, along with a number of other things. That's being added to whenever we get the opportunity these days, but not as much as previously. But do make sure you check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, because there are some very, very interesting things on the channel these days. But yeah, let's go on and chat a little bit about the breweries. Then we'll start off with Hyllie Bryggeri, since they are the home brewery in this case. So Hyllie Bryggeri started off as the home brewing experimentations of Michael Nathorst, who was originally from Vintria, a few minutes to the south of Hyllie, which is one of the kind of southern parts of Malmö, I guess one of the southwestern parts when I think about the map. But that is of course where this brewery takes its name from. So for a number of years, he was a home brewer, and he built up his own brewery in his garage where he was experimenting with different beers, brewing with his friends and stuff like this. And apparently he started home brewing back in around 2013. But he worked for a number of years in the plumbing industry, and for a period of time he was working 4 days as a plumber and 1 with the brewery. But he's good friends as well with Torsten Ekne, who is the original owner of Beer Ditch in Malmö. And when Beer Ditch started to kick off, Michael decided to turn his garage brewery into a proper brewery, and so he registered Hyllie Bryggeri in 2015 as an official company. But these days, Michael is joined at the brewery by Erik Fritjof, who is a partner in the company, and he deals with the sales and marketing, but he was also one of the co-founders of the Great Swedish Beer Festival. So in 2017, they launched their Cycle Pipes brand at Brewskival, which is where they released some of the more experimental beers like Big Imperial Stouts, barrel aged stuff, I guess the more kind of crazy American style beers, if you like, for the most most part. But in 2019, Hyllie and Bryggeri collaborated to form a new company that owned a brewery building, and it was there that the three companies were brewing their beer for a little while. But they had a 1,000 litre brew kit, although this arrangement unfortunately just lasted a few months before Hyllie moved out and into a farm near Fintria, just because, it just didn't work. I think the logistics and stuff were a big problem. But throughout 2020, they were contract brewing a number of their beers, I think up at Brewhuset Finn in Landskrona, but then they invested in a new premises in Malmö on Stormgatan near the central station, and this was converted into a brewery with a 2,000 litre brewing system. But they also recruited Johan Lagerkrantz to come in as their head brewer. He'd spent 5 years working down in New Zealand, and they opened their tap room soon after that, which is a really nice venue actually. I do recommend that you go and check it out actually. But as of May 2024, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 150 different kinds of beer, quite a few of them lagers of course, and there's also been about 40 beers have been released through the Cycle Pipes brand at this point in time. But like I said to you earlier, for me, Hyllie Bryggeri, they always do some very, very nice lagers. They've got the Hyllie Pan, which is one of their kind of classic IPAs. It's an old school like Citrus Simcoe US05 yeast beer. Great stuff, I really enjoy that. But the Skånes Lager is one that I really do quite enjoy as well. I think that's a really nicely done beer. So that is everything I think I can really tell you about Hyllie Bryggeri for the moment. So if you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So let's go on and have a little look at Poppels Bryggeri then. So, Poppels Bryggeri were originally based in a town called Mölnlycke to the southeast of Gothenburg, but they're now based in Jonsered, which I think is kind of more northeast if I'm not mistaken. But the brewery is named after that which was owned by Johann Poppel, who was a well-known German-Swedish brewer who actually spent most of his life in Varberg and Gothenburg back in the day. So he was born between 1605 and 1610, they're not quite sure, in Lower Saxony in Germany, but then moved to Sweden with his family in the 1620s. He met his wife Katarina Krakow between 1624 and 1628, and later founded Gothenburg's first brewery with her officially in 1649, but it's thought they had been brewing since 1638. He's also said to have written down the protocol of the city of Gothenburg in Swedish for the first time as opposed to German, and this brewery apparently remained in the Poppel family for a number of years, but the most famous site of this brewery in Gothenburg was at Stigbergstorget. So the current version of the company though was founded back in 2012 in Mölnlycke on a site that was apparently owned by the Poppel family, hence why they went for this name. But the brewery is owned by 15 beer lovers. There's Daniel Granat, Thomas Cowden and Thomas Fielman being the main drivers of the company, and the aim that they started off with was really to focus on pairing their beers with different foods. So the current head brewer of course is Daniel Granat. I think he is more like a kind of brewmaster these days from what I've gathered, because these guys have grown quite a lot, but he's apparently a bit of an experimenter and a perfectionist, so he brews most of his beers 4 or 5 times before he allows them to be released, and he reads up a lot of stuff on the internet about the latest brewing techniques and things like this. But apparently he also is very big on the kind of latest current events and keeping up with the trends and things like that. So very, very interesting guy, someone that I would like to get on the channel for a Meet the Brewery at some stage. We'll need to see about that. But fast forward to 2015, they moved to their new site in Jonsered to the east of Gothenburg, which has a restaurant and a shop, and this has been very, very successful over the last few years. But since moving there, they now also boast the title of Sweden's largest organic beer producer. And over the next few years they continued to grow, but in August of 2022 they opened their City Bryggeri in the newly built Platinen, which is just a few hundred metres from the central railway station in Gothenburg. But the brewing at City Bryggeri is done by Edvin Valmo, and they have a large oak barrel there, which are quite a lot of large oak barrels I should say, which they say will develop their own character over time, and they're going to experiment with these going forward. But this new facility has a restaurant and a bakery in-house, and apparently the guests can serve themselves beer, so I guess I need to go and have a little look at this. But today the CEO of Poppels is Mats Wallström, and as of May 2024, when I'm producing this video for you, these guys have produced a total of 180 different kinds of beer according to Untappd. And like I said earlier, one of my favourite ones back in the day was the from the Project series. I think it was number 2, the Russian Imperial Stout, and that has since become one of their regular beers. That was an absolute beast, actually. I really enjoyed that one. But yeah, that is everything I can really tell you about the brewery for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on and have a little look at the beer itself. So as you can see, this one is a 440 milliliter can, which is quite common in Sweden. Plain silver top on it there. Like I said, this beer was given to me because I told the guys in the bar that, oh, this was my local brewery back in Sweden, so one of my local breweries back in Sweden, so they actually gave me this can to review. So again, a big thank you to the guys at Bound for making this review possible. Like we said earlier, it is a 5% Helles lager with some smoky malt in it. I'm guessing by the sounds of it, it says it's a light, crisp lager, so I'm guessing it will be along the lines of the Spezial beers from Bamberg. But yeah, 5% ABV, this one, Helles lager Methode Bamberg. So yeah, quite obviously a tribute to the Rauch beers of Bamberg. So yeah, one of the technical things about lager, for those of you that don't know, lager beers undergo cold temperature fermentations using bottom fermenting yeast, usually like 8 to 12 degrees Celsius, and that was a big thing. That's why many towns in Germany have the rock kellers, because they didn't have artificial refrigeration, so they put their beers underground to let them ferment at colder temperatures over the summer and things like this. So yeah, the Rauch beer as well as a style that originated in Bamberg, and the way they smoke the malt is by burning beechwood, which gives you this lovely kind of meaty type quality in the malts. So yeah, one of the really famous companies for that in Bamberg is Weirmann, who have this lovely big red maltery factory. It's industrial heritage, or considered industrial heritage by the Bavarian government. So yeah, let's get this guy out into the glass then and see what it's all about. I'm really quite curious about this one, actually. And I've been wanting to try this beer for a while. It has actually been sitting in the fridge a little bit, but it should still be absolutely fine. There we go. Good, there we are. So, yeah, this looks lovely, I have to say. So you can see, the beer, we've poured maybe about 80% of it, but you can see the beer has poured with about just about a finger and a half of a frothy, kind of bumpy white head there. You can see that's going to fade away to be a kind of thinner foamy layer over time, but nice foamy bubbles on the bottom, kind of bumpier ones the further up that you go. But you can see you've got this lovely, very bright, pale golden straw colour. Actually expected to be a little bit more amber than it is. But yeah, come to think of it, the Spezial Rauch beer is quite similar in that sense. But yeah, one or two big bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass there. You can see a steady stream of smaller bubbles going up toward the surface of the beer, but all in all, it looks pretty nice. You can see if I put my hand behind the glass, it's got a little bit of almost haziness to it because of the condensation on the glass, but trust me, this beer is pretty much crystal clear. The head is just fading away to be a kind of thinner, more foamy layer. Then round the edge of the glass, you've got that nice ring there. So yeah, I like how this one goes together, actually. It looks very nice. Nothing else we really need to say about the appearance of the beer. Let's have a wee look at the aroma then and just see how we get on. I'm very curious about this. Oh yeah, that's just a very light kind of smattering of smoke in this one. But yeah, it's definitely there. This is going to be nice to drink, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So yeah, again, for those of you who don't know, the Helles lager is the German blonde lager, essentially. The Czech equivalent of that would be the Svetli, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, the Svetli is a little bit more kind of yeasty and creamy, if you like, whereas the German lagers tend to be a little bit lighter and more crisp, I would say. And of course you've got the differences in German and Czech hops. The Czech ones are a bit more spicy, the German ones are a bit kind of brighter and smoother. But the aroma out of this one is absolutely lovely. So let's just break this down and describe it for you a wee bit more in depth, actually. So the backbone of this beer absolutely is like a fresh, white bready bread crust. The way that that goes together, I think, is really nice. A fresh white bready bread crust. There's a wee touch of wood. There's a wee touch of cracker. I think it goes together very, very well. So yeah, on top of that, you get a little touch. There's a teeny little touch of like brown bread in there, sweet brown bread, and it smells almost as if the kind of smoky elements to the beer are kind of infused in that. So as I said, when you have Bamberg Rauchmalt, it's going to give you like a sort of meaty note. If you think of the Maillard reactions that you get when you sear a little bit of like pork meat or something, it's very much like that. So you can really smell that sort of meaty, porky, smoky kind of note in this one. And that's mixed in with the bread. But there's a lot of kind of fresh white bread in there as well, which I think is nice. And if you sugar the beer up a little bit more, you start to get a little bit, I do wonder if there's a tiny little touch of Pilsner malt in here. Probably not when it's a Helles, and I know that Hyllie Bryggeri are quite strict on those definitions of lagers. They love lagers. But yeah, for me, this one, it has a little bit of the crispness, almost as if there was a bit of Pilsner malt in there. And yeah, you have some, yeah, you've got some really nice sort of biscuity notes above that white bready character. So there's a little bit of, there, I don't know if there's, I wouldn't say there's a bit of straight up caramel in there, but you have a little bit of that really kind of concentrated biscuity note and a wee bit of a kind of McVitie's digestive crispy biscuit coming out of this beer too. So yeah, interesting. A little bit of yeastiness in the back of the nose as well, like a white bready yeastiness. But then on the hoppy side of things, the way that this beer goes together in that sense is quite interesting too. So I mean, at the yeah, the hoppy side of things, on the back, in the back of the nose, you can certainly get a little bit of a wee kind of smooth earthiness out of this one, a wee bit of herbal character. But your hoppy side of things, as you often get with German noble hops, it's got a nice bright floral aromaticity. There's a little bit of zesty grassy character in there, of course, as well. And yeah, you can smell that quite clearly in this one. And these are characteristics of the Helles lager. So yeah, I like that about this beer. In terms of fruitiness, I think you've got a kind of little bit of that typical sultana type note, you know, oily pear, stuff like that. These are all things that you'll get out of a Helles lager for sure. So, I mean, the aroma of this beer is not the most complex. It's kind of straightforward, which is what you want from the style. And even with the bit of smokiness in there, it's always going to give you, you know, the smokiness is going to give you a wee bit more depth to it, and the meaty notes come out, of course. But yeah, the way that all of this pieces together, I think, is really nice, and it gets a big thumbs up from me. Yeah, as I always say, just take a little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But I think this one is going to be quite quirky and quite interesting to try. So we'll just get the rest of it out and into the glass. Look at that, that looks very nice. But yeah, let's have a taste of this then and see what it's all about. So yeah, this is the Methode Bamberg, a 5% Helles lager with Bamberg Rauchmalt in it, I believe, from Hyllie Bryggeri in Malmö and Skåne, and Poppels Bryggeri from Jonsered, just outside of Gothenburg. Let's get stuck in. Slange, skål, cheers. Ooh, that is nice. That is very, very nice. Yeah, kind of wish I bought a few other cans of this. Well, I wish I'd been able to buy a few cans of this. I think there was only like 2 of them left or something like that when they gave me the beer. But yeah, the this beer really is very, very nice. I mean, Hyllie have always done a very solid lager beer. I can't remember if I've had lagers from Poppels before. I think it's mostly been IPAs and stouts and things like this that we've had from them, maybe 1 or 2 sours. But yeah, this is really pretty damn good. And as you always get with the Swedish craft brewers, their beers usually, you know, when it comes to lager beers, they always feel very similar to the German ones, but they just feel that little bit more kind of clean almost. And I think that's just due to the nature of the water. Water, of course, is a very important ingredient when it comes to beer, and it can really influence your flavour. But yeah, the Swedish water is always very, very clean. So yeah, this one tastes very, very nice. It does remind me quite a little bit of the Spezial lager from Bamberg itself, the Spezial. Rauch, I can't remember the name of that one, but yeah, it's very much like that, like a very, you know, mostly a Helles, but just with that little bit of lighter smoky character to it, and it's great. But this one feels even lighter than that, and it's just cleaner too. So yeah, thumbs up to both Hyllie Bryggeri and Poppels for doing something a wee bit different. But this is a really, really nice beer, this one. Feel bad that I missed it. But yeah, very easy to drink, which is what you want, but a bit dangerous if you actually want to review the thing. So yeah, let's just break this beer down then and describe it for you a wee bit more in depth. We'll start on the middle third of the palate, as we always do. So the backbone of the beer, you've got that lovely kind of fresh white bready bread crust in there, and I will say the bread crusty nature of this beer actually has a little bit of greeniness to it, which is quite interesting. So yeah, definitely picking up a little bit of that in here, kind of grainy, crusty, fresh white bready bread crust. As you move further forward on that middle third of your palate, you can feel there is like a little touch of woodiness there. I always get a little touch of woodiness in the middle of the palate for some reason. Doesn't really matter what style, as long as it's not a sour beer, of course, or modern sour I should say, be more specific. But then above that kind of bread crusty character, you're getting a little smattering of cracker out of this beer. And I will say that this one, I guess that's maybe coming from the malts itself and from the yeast, but the yeah, the way that all of this goes together, I think is really quite interesting. Like, you get more of a kind of yeasty graininess out of this beer the further into the aftertaste you go, but it gives you that nice light kind of crispness at the same time. But yeah, above the crackery layer, you've got a layer of like a wholemeal brown bready note coming out of this one, which I think is very nice. Then you've got the white bready character as well, so you can feel that, those two layers just building up, and then you've got that nice sort of smoky note coming out of this one, which I think is lovely. So yeah, lovely mix of smoky bread in this one. I think this is very, very nice. Yeah, wholemeal brown bready character, fluffy white bread in there, that lovely kind of smoky note kind of infused into them. As I say, it's kind of a meaty smoke actually, like, you know, a bit of that smoky kind of pork or something like that. But yeah, it feels just a little bit more, yeah, kind of, it doesn't feel quite as strong, obviously, as Spezial or Schlenkerla, and it kind of lingers a little bit into the aftertaste too, and it feels a little bit drier, which is also quite interesting. But yeah, above the white bready layer in this beer, you start to get some of the kind of crisp, bitter, the crisp biscuity characteristics coming out of it, sorry. So yeah, you can feel that, like above the white bready layer, you've got the nice little bit of biscuity malt in there. So yeah, nice little bit of kind of sweet, crispy biscuit kind of character in the base there, which is nice. And then you've got that circle sitting in the middle third of your palate, which is really very, very nice. So yeah, nice little bit of circle, that circle biscuit, that more concentrated oily biscuit in the middle of your palate. Then you can feel the more kind of crisp biscuit as you move out toward the edges of your palate there. So it's actually quite a straightforward beer, this one, in terms of its flavour profile, but it's just really, really nicely done, and again, very, very easy to drink. So I think we've covered the middle third of the palate at that. So let's go to the back third of the palate. As I've often said, sweeter flavours come out further forward on the palate, more dry and bitter flavours come out further back. But yeah, the back third of your palate is always going to give you similar flavours to the middle third of your palate, just at different intensities. So let's kind of focus on that. The border region between middle and back third of your palate, you get a nice little bit of bready build up in there. You get the brown bread in the base, the white bread on top, but the base of that back third of your palate, you've got some nice, you can feel there's a nice little bit of kind of brown bready, it's more like a brown bready bread crust there on that back third of your palate. Then you've got the cracker, then above that, yeah, wholemeal brown bready characters in there. The white bready character sits above that, and those two layers are a little bit lighter and a bit more airy, of course, but they feel a little bit drier, and the smokiness is a little bit drier in there too. Then you can feel some of the kind of crispy biscuity characters just creeping over the top of that, which are quite nice. So yeah, I do like how that pieces together in this particular beer. That gets a thumbs up from me. Yeah, on the yeasty side of things, then on the back third of your palate, you get the yeasty side of this beer is quite interesting because it feels like there's a little bit of a grainy wholemeal brown bread in the middle. Then as you move out from that, you get a slightly sweeter wholemeal brown bread, and then the very edge of the yeasty character is a little bit more dry and bread crusty again, kind of like the base of that middle third of your palate. So yeah, yeasty side of this beer is quite interesting, but definitely you can feel the back third of your palate, the flavour is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your tongue, it just kind of condenses down and squashes together that little bit more. So yeah, the way all of that goes together is really, really nice in this one. On the hoppy side of things then, this beer, yeah, typical German noble hops, to be honest with you. A little bit of smooth earthiness in the back corners of the palate. As you move further forward, it's a little bit more herbal, and as you come further forward along the sides of your palate, a wee bit more like floral and aromatic, and then a wee touch grassy and zesty around the front curve of your tongue. So yeah, the way all of that kind of pieces together, I think, is very, very nice in this one. So that gets a big thumbs up from me. So, yeah, I do like that about this one for sure. On the fruity side of things, then we'll go to the front third of your palate. The border region between front third and middle third of your palate, again, you've got a little bit of the brown bread in there and the white bready character, but the base of that front third of your palate, nice little bit of grainy bread crust, Jacob's cream cracker, the wholemeal brown bread, the white bread, and then you've got that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. And the fruity esters are kind of what we expected they would be from the aroma, in all honesty. My OCD kicking off there because the can moved. But yeah, fruity side of things for me, yeah, the fruity side of this beer for me, little bit of sultana at the back of that. There's a wee bit of sultana at the back of that front third of your tongue, you know, the dry white green grapes, and as you move further forward from that, it's a little bit more kind of peary and things, and there's maybe like a wee tiny little bit of a kind of lemony grassy character just behind that front tip of the tongue where you get all the grassy esters. So yeah, sultana, pear, and a wee bit of a kind of grassy sort of thing. So yeah, the way all of that goes together, I think, is very, very nice in this one, and it gets a big thumbs up from me. Yeah, I like that with this one. Really, really nice beer, this. Dangerously easy to drink. I probably would have drank about 3 of these in a session or something like that, because it's a bit of a special release, so yeah, you would have a few in my mind. But yeah, really nicely done, this one. Certainly lighter than Spezial, which it reminds me of from Bamberg. But yeah, still really enjoyable. This one gets a big thumbs up from me. Let's round off the review then with a wee quick look at the mouthfeel. So for me, definitely light-bodied, nice crisp carbonation, very clean mouthfeel, a little bit drier into the aftertaste, right enough. But yeah, your IBU in this one, I think, is about 20-ish, which is normal. 15, well, yeah, probably 20 IBU in this beer. You get a little bit of bitterness into the aftertaste. The malt is what I said, bit grainy underneath, smooth in the middle, very slightly sweet on top. I do like how all that goes together. And then yeah, you've just got that little touch of oily fruitiness coming out of this one. So yeah, all in all, the way this beer goes together, I think, is it's very, very nice, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. So I do hope they do it again at some stage. It'd be nice to go and actually taste this one at Stormgatan or at one of Poppels bars in Gothenburg. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This was the Methode Bamberg, a 5% Helles lager with a little bit of smoky malt in it, from Hyllie Bryggeri in Malmö, in collaboration with Poppels Bryggeri from Jonsered, just outside of Gothenburg, Göteborg on the Swedish west coast. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from both Hyllie and Poppels as well, and we will no doubt return to these guys again in the near future. Check out my social media, check out the brewery social media, and I'll catch you guys again very, very soon. Slàinte, skål, and cheers.